from PickDogs.com and SportsChatPlace.com. Here's Steve Monahan, Chris, and Rod the Puck Dogs. It's our weekend show. I don't know. We just keep showing up. Hopefully things start to change. I don't know. We talked a lot about this social distancing and everything yesterday, and we continue to say it, and hope everyone is safe out there. And those of you guys that aren't social distancing, screwing it up for everybody pretty much. So I hate not having sports. It's kind of like I heard the analogy yesterday. It's kind of like having a lockdown with a few states not participating is like having a peeing section in your swimming pool. Pretty much, pretty much what that is like. Kind of the whole thing doesn't. It's either everybody or nobody at this point. And I think here in Maui, I think to me the worst part of this thing now is, and obviously the worst part is the deaths, but the part that I have trouble here with is the inconsistent information. Right? Just absolutely inconsistent. It's like, so here on Maui, right, a few days ago, Mayor Victorino said, it's like, we got this thing. We quarantined early, visitors early. We locked down early, and we're isolated. We're in good shape, right? Then we hear another person yesterday say, we're not going to peak for another 4 weeks. It's like, how is that possible? It's like, if we locked down, right, 2 weeks ago, and we quarantined 3 weeks ago, and it's a 2-week incubation, how in the hell is 6 weeks? It's like, where are these new? It's like, I know I said this, but today I'm saying, I understand that stuff happens, but I mean, explain this to me, somebody. I mean, I'm missing something here. It's like, isn't it supposed to be like, after the 2 weeks, right? Then like that week after the 2 weeks, kind of like the incubation is done, and now the cases that are out there kind of get worse and worse and worse. So you kind of peak that week, and then the next week should be less new cases and less new cases. Yeah, obviously more severe cases, but less overall cases. I don't know, man.
But during the first 2 weeks, when everything shut down, you had people going to the Florida beach.
Well, not here. We don't. Going to work. Not here. We
not there.
Spring breakers, the wild.
Yeah. But not here. I'm talking about here specifically. And this is, to me, what gets it. I mean, Florida, Texas. I mean, if you live there, I would be a little nervous. I have to say.
You've got like 6 states that aren't doing anything. States are doing nothing. They don't even have to be stay in their home. They can do whatever. And if you don't do it across the board, right. Everybody locked in.
Right. This is just spreading
like wildfire.
On the mainland, if there's states that aren't doing it, then there's states that aren't doing it. It's like, if you're in the mainland United States and you have states that aren't doing it, like I said, it's like having a peeing section in your swimming pool. It's exactly what it is. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yep.
It's no joke here in New Jersey and New York. It's really out of control now, and and then 2-3 weeks ago, wearing a mask. You don't have to wear a mask now. 48 hours ago, well, we really should be wearing a mask, and it's like, wow, So
yesterday was my first time out of the house since the lockdown, and I went to the bank. So, it was crazy, and let me see if I can get this on here. Let me do it. Trying to show a picture of me at the bank. It's like I was saying, it's like a month ago or 3 weeks ago, I would have been arrested wearing this at the bank, you know. But yeah, it's not gonna let me do it. But
Would you do Point Break? Did that president's little mask or something when you went in?
let's see. See if I can get it to work here.
Reagan, Nixon, and who was the other one?
No,
Carter.
obviously not. But so here we go. So here's me at the bank yesterday, and it's like you go in there with your shades on and a bandana over the face. Generally,
You're definitely in trouble.
yeah.
Normally, go to the bank.
I'll tell you what. I brought my own pen, and I drank about 3 gallons of Purell when I got out of the place. So I tell you, I always, the whole thing is like Purell and wipes and all that stuff. I always am over the top about that stuff because I over the last 8 years I've gone to Vegas 7, 8 times a year if not more, and I've gotten sick probably 90% of them, and I still so it's like I basically carry that stuff around with me everywhere I go when I'm in Vegas, and that wipes and stuff. So it was like, oh, they're running out of Purell, they're running out of wipes. It's like all we had to do was hit up my backpacks, and there was like just tons of them. We got enough to get through more than just this pandemic. We got enough to get through to let's say 2030. But so the toilet paper stock up, right? Has anyone stopped seeing toilet paper deliveries to their town? I mean, I'm still missing this one, right? Yeah, see, here I could understand it. I know that it started in Honolulu, and I understand it here because I live here and I totally get it. We're in the middle of the ocean. All they have to do is say we're not going to bring any more boats in, right? It's really is that simple. It's like we're not going to let any more boats in. Boats are now actually closed down for like non-essential stuff. So we ordered a couch. It's like we probably never going to see this thing, right? And we're kind of at that point. So I don't know. It's just we can only hope that things get back to normal as soon as possible. But I was fully optimistic when it first started, and I am less optimistic now. I don't want to be the bummer taco. Normally I'm the uplifting. It's like we are going to make it. There is going to be another side to this, but with states not doing the lockdown, with all these, it's like you still hear people complaining that they didn't get to go on vacation. It's like you got to be kidding, right? So I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But I know, the pictures out of New York that we saw this week are just, they always, the news will make it, they'll take the worst of the worst case scenario and put it front and center, But I don't care if that wasn't disturbing to you in any way, shape, or form, even if that's what they did, which they did, we know they did that, right? Still just alarming, right? It's like when the volcanoes were going off here. It's like here's the big island of Hawaii, and here's the area that was affected by volcanoes. And they made it seem like the whole place was blowing up, right? But this is really what it was.
Yeah.
It might have even been this. It's like that's what they made it seem like. And there's a few houses that are right here. There's a few houses that happen to be right here, and then they act like, oh my God, neighborhoods are getting wiped out. Yeah, they're right on the fissure, right? I mean, it happens. It's like that's why it's a disaster. But we're certainly not going to downplay it. We're certainly not going to joke about it. But we're just saying, yeah. I mean, why did New York not lock down? We could say all this stuff. Why didn't we? Why didn't we? Why didn't we? But we don't look back. We only look forward. To me, it's like, why isn't there? Why isn't there a strict across the board enforcement here? It's like, why is it one way in one state, and why is Florida just locking down yesterday? What's going on here? It's like, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's like, we could look back at what we could have done better, and almost everything. We could have done almost everything better. I mean, a month ago, we didn't think anything of it. A month ago, we were playing college hoops, right? Talking college hoops, getting ready for baseball season, pitchers and catchers. We got spring training games. Now it's, will they ever play again? It's like we're watching NBA players play video games. I mean, this is reality, man. This is bad. It's like, there'll be some things that come out of this, that will stick. We can only hope that this isn't one of them, right? I mean, this is about as bad as it gets. Who came up with these seedings? I mean,
I don't know. It was like the one game I was watching.
I had heard, in all fairness, I had heard in our Facebook group that Trae Young was an absolute beast at this stuff. Someone in our Facebook group knew that he's like the beast of beasts at this video game. And they wrote it in there that he was the bet, all the way. It's Trae Young. How does it work, Chris? And you follow. Rod looks frozen here, but caught him in a weird spot too, which is even better. But so these video things, I didn't watch it, right? So do they get to only pick each team once that they get to play with? Because four guys pick the Bucks.
I'm not sure how it works in terms of picking their teams. It could be a random team. I'm guessing it would be a random team just to sort of keep it fairly level. I mean, Bucks and Clippers, maybe that's a bit of a stretch for a random game, but
yeah, it seemed like four of them picked the Bucks.
Okay, so maybe it is. You get to pick the team that you want to work with. I don't know.
Once you only get them once. Is that how it's? That's how. I mean, that's how.
I believe so. Yeah.
Because I'm going to guess the Bucks are pretty highly rated. They had the best record last year.
Yeah, I know how the seeding works. The seeding was like your rating in the video game gives you your seed. So like a guy like Kevin Durant rated like 96 overall, so he got the number 1 seed. And then a guy like Derrick Jones Jr. was a 78, so that's why he got the 16 seed. But he was tied with someone, so the tiebreaker is how long you've been in the league.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you get to pick your team though? Who you get to play with? Like,
no, I know, but I'm just saying that's how the seeding works for that. I'm not sure how the picking of the team. I think it's only like one and done. Like you get to use one team, or I think we'll find out in the next round. Like if they get to keep using the same team, then we'll know. You pick a team at the beginning.
It could be the Bucks against the Bucks if that's the case.
Yeah,
they seem to be pretty good at this video game.
Yeah,
Rod, do you know this one? You were frozen there for us. Do you know how they get to pick their teams?
I think they probably just flip a coin. Like here's your head-to-head matchup, and flip a coin and start. See who picks.
Here it is. So Randy, who is our head writer at Sports Chat Place and Pick Dogs, who's kind of our top guy, our top gun, our Maverick, Tom Cruise. Chris would be the goose. Each player gets to choose 8 teams, and they can use them each team only once. So all those guys used the Bucks because they just wanted to get out of the first round, I guess. So there it is. Maybe we'll start covering these NBA games and sim games as well at Sports Chat and Pick Dogs. I think that would be a good idea. Do previews on them. Can't tell you how huge Belarus soccer is these days. Feel like we have an actual website again with real traffic and everything. It's absolutely crazy that like 14,000 people cared about Belarus soccer all of a sudden. And SBL, Taiwan Bank, that's basketball. It's Chinese basketball we're covering.
It's just table tennis. People have gone crazy over table tennis.
Yeah.
Table tennis. I don't even know. I don't even know who these guys
See,
are.
and people used to say I have a problem, right? Like before I started doing this. See, that's the thing, and I'm gonna probably do a show, a few shows, and probably one show a week or two shows a week where I talk about building the website and stuff like that. It'll just be me. We'll give the Puck Dogs a day off, like once a week or twice a week or something. I'm gonna talk about like how I built Sports Chat Place from the ground up, and how I built picks and parlays, and how I built pick dogs and stuff. So, because I get that question all the time, how do I get started? Steve had a friend the other day asked me, how do I start a podcast? And while he filibustered me on his love for NASCAR and the in and outs of NASCAR, which I gotta say, kind of wasn't up for it. We eventually will get around to how you actually do the podcast part, but it was
Right.
like, oh my God, man, you want to talk about 37 years of bad moves that NASCAR makes in full detail. You could have recorded that phone call. It could have been a podcast within itself. Anyways, the point of this one is we're going to talk NFL draft today. Going to do the running backs. I tell you, without Etienne and without Chuba Hubbard, this NFL draft class, as far as running back, is kind of dumbed down a little bit. You have a few superstar names, but running back is also one of those positions that if a guy comes out of nowhere, as far as draft status, and makes a huge impact, it happens all the time. More often than I think any other position. Well, actually, I think you see it offensive linemen. You see it, You see it. I guess you see it in every position. But to me, it seems that the guys that, a running back that makes an impact, and then people all of a sudden are surprised, and it's like they didn't see him in college. And those of us that watch every college game. Like I said, before, people used to say I have a problem, now it's like, how do I do it, right? It's like Rod saying, oh, they'll bet on ping pong. It's like, it used to be, I have a problem, you have a problem. Now it's like, how do I do that? It's like, wow, you get to live where? It's like, yeah, pretty much. Some problem. But anyways, DeAndre Swift is rated up on the board, pretty much the number one running back. I got problems with DeAndre Swift. He's 5'8". Okay, that's my problem with him. He's 5'8", 212 pounds. I think that when you have a running back that's fast in college and stuff, he's never as fast in the NFL unless it's Barry Sanders. And I don't know. I know the Dolphins have certainly been mentioned in DeAndre Swift thing here, but I gotta say, as a Dolphin backer, whatever, season ticket holder, whatever you want to slice it, it's like, if you wanted to take a running back in the first round and you really were so concerned about running back, why didn't you just keep Kenyon Drake? It's like you only got like a 5th round pick for him. So now you're going to spend a 1st round pick on a running back that's not going to be as good as him. The odds of you getting a running back that's as good as him with this running back class is 0. The chances are 0 that that's going to happen. You might catch lightning in a bottle. There's a couple guys further down the list, like when we talked about the quarterbacks and we went further down the list. There's some guys in here that could possibly be those guys. But, Steve, anything about DeAndre Swift that says, I want the Cowboys to get rid of Ezekiel Elliott and get DeAndre Swift?
Not in the slightest. Again, this is a pass-happy league now. You're going to get value at running back really anywhere, really in the top 5 rounds, actually. So, to your point, Kenyon Drake, they got a 5th round pick for him. DeAndre Swift is not Barry Sanders by any stretch of the imagination, but, he's going to go high, obviously. You think he's at the top of the board Myself, I think J.K. Dobbins is probably, for me coming out, probably the most ready college back to come out of this class, and Hilaire from LSU, I like too.
We'll get to those guys. Chris,
Yeah.
What do you think of DeAndre Swift?
DeAndre Swift, he's 5'8", and the shelf life for an NFL running back on average is 3.5 years.
I see a few guys. I see a few of the hidden gems here that are really going to be the impact guys.
Yeah. Got a couple.
Chris, how about you? DeAndre Swift?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see where the Swift to the Dolphins lineage comes when you consider that Ryan Fitzpatrick led the Dolphins.
I thought you were going to say, when you look at their drafts for the last 25 years, I can see it. It's like,
no,
Jamar Fletcher.
The size is yeah. The size is a bit of a concern, but if you look, like 4 of the top 5 running backs are probably slated to go, including Edwards, Hilaire, Zach Moss, J.K. Dobbins. They're 5'9" or shorter. There's a lack of size in this year's running back class, and that concerns me when you consider that a lot of people, especially in college, you can see that DeAndre Swift is probably the guy that can be a 3-down back because he can catch out of the backfield. He's quick. He can cut.
Because running backs are slot receivers now. That's why they've gotten small. Because running backs are slot receivers. Andy Reid changed the game, a few years ago when he was with Philly. And he had Brian Westbrook, who was also like 5'2", and Sproles. Guys like this, these are the guys that have changed the game. They're smaller guys and they're more slot receivers. They're Tyreek Hill that weigh 230 pounds. Is what they are.
Yep.
So, that's the idea. Is that either there's the Derrick Henry, which we have a few of those guys in this draft, and I'm not saying we have the next Derrick Henry. I'm saying that style, or it's this third down slot guy who can take it between the tackles like Lamar Miller, type. Who's kind of like, he's fast and he can do it. But they're rare, and those guys also, we saw Miller's stats last season, right? He missed the whole season. That's the issue here. Running back. Okay, Rod, DeAndre Swift.
I like him. I like this guy. I think he's got some, like I said, like Chris said, he can catch the ball as well. You can run the ball, you can cut the ball. I think on a team somewhere they can use him like an Alvin Kamara. Pass him the ball, and he can run, handle the ball. I like him, 5'8" or not.
So Alvin Kamara is a guy who was not drafted all that high also. And, that's the difference, is that I do think that Swift has that kind of potential. It's like right now he's rated the 37th overall player in the draft, which could be correct, but they're talking first-round pick, with this guy. And that's where I have the issue.
Don't know.
Believe me, I love him in the 5th round with that Kenyon Drake pick. I don't love him here. And it's like, it's the risk reward. I'm not saying DeAndre Swift isn't going to make an impact. I'm not saying that he's going to be that he doesn't have the potential to be that guy that has that week that makes fantasy owners go nuts. And then, we might not see that week again. But I mean, he has that type of potential. But is he a first-round draft choice, in this draft, where it's like, even if you need a quarterback, if you have multiple first-round picks like the Dolphins, you're thinking about taking Tua, I say if you take Tua, use the next draft choice, you take another quarterback. You do the Kirk Cousins, Robert Griffin thing. It's like, because 5 surgeries we talked about the other day, I don't love that pick.
Well, why do I have a bad feeling the Dolphins are going to take Tua?
Well, because I don't know. I'm not 100% sold as a Dolphin fan that they're going to take him. I am not 100% at this point. 5 surgeries.
I'm in about 90.
It's a lot, man. This is a team that hasn't had a quarterback in a long time, since Jay Fiedler left, right? So they haven't had a quarterback.
They better not take him.
Jay Fiedler. Like I always said, you just got to get Fiedler, create some space, and give him some space and just let him create. Kind of like Jordan.
If they do take him, I'll be wearing a paper bag and it says Dolphins fan.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan Taylor, is one of the bigger backs here. He's 5'11". This guy went over 2,000 yards twice in his college career. He's a home run hitter. We've seen Wisconsin running backs. These guys translate well to the NFL game. Not long careers in the NFL, not long productive careers, but we've already seen, we're already starting to see the Wisconsin backs slow down already. It's hard to tell because you have that gigantic Wisconsin offensive line. These guys are fast, obviously, to put up those kind of numbers, and most of the time when Jonathan Taylor was putting up those numbers, his offensive line was really pushing people around. Got Jonathan Taylor here. Take him ahead of DeAndre. I'd take him ahead of DeAndre Swift, though. That's for sure. Steve?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor to me is at the top of the board here. Even in the Rose Bowl, you saw him against Oregon. He was catching balls out of the backfield. So, all you think about is him, running for 2,000 yards, twice in his career. But he can catch it out of the backfield. He is rock solid, 5'11" or so. I think Jonathan Taylor's the first back that's going to go off the board.
Chris?
I'm a big fan of him.
Chris?
Yeah, the other thing we have to remember is the one season that's that outlier of his 3 years. He was only 23 yards away from a third 2,000-yard season. So he's definitely warranted as being one of the top backs on the board. I would not be surprised if he was the first running back off of the board. There is a concern he does tend to turn the ball over a little bit. He has 17 career fumbles, but 6.3 yards per carry last season. He's powerful. He can stiff arm the best of them. Again, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go as just outside the top 20. It's all going to be based on team needs at this point, right? So,
Yep.
Rod, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, he should be the number one on the running back list for sure. Big, can cut, can run. And last year he definitely picked up not his first 2 years, but he does like to fumble. But I would take him over Swift for sure.
So J.K. Dobbins at Ohio State
showed
showed that he has that upfield cut that I really like, because I don't like guys that run side to side. I like guys that run forward. And while I bashed Dobbins for a good part of his career, we did see in the playoff that he does have that nice upfield cut. And we saw it against Penn State. We saw it against Michigan also. Once he makes that cut, if that hole is there, he's 7-8 yards down the field before they take him down. And that has Derrick Henry type impact right there, more than any of these other running backs have in this draft. I wouldn't mind actually seeing Dobbins in Miami. I think that during this part of the rebuild, to have that type of guy for whoever if they're going to play the rookie quarterback, not a bad crutch to lean on. Steve, Dobbins?
Yeah, big Dobbins fan, especially, against Michigan. You saw him, just like you said, he's a north-south runner as soon as he turns it up. He's powerful. He's 5'9", 210, I think he is. Runs a 4.5 40, and against Clemson, in the playoff game too. He broke off a couple nice runs too. I think he had 2,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken, too, in his last season. I think he just got over like 2003, I guess, with the bowl game combined. But Dobbins is a good back, and I see him definitely first round material, probably, late teens and the early 20s, I would say. So I think him and Taylor number one. I think Dobbins is number two on the list.
How about you, Chris?
No, definitely I could see him going in that range as well. I mean, we saw Dobbins. He was a huge part of that Ohio State offense. He could rip off big runs like nobody's business. He could be wrapped up, and the next thing you know, he's breaking off a 20-yard run. So, I mean, we saw his best statistical season. He had a nice bounce back year after basically having half the yardage the year before. But, yeah, I definitely think that J.K. Dobbins is going to be a stud in this league, and I think he's more than warranted of going around the top 20.
Rod?
I don't think he'll go around the top 20 though. I think someone will get him later in the draft than that.
Yeah, I think he's going to go a little higher than people think.
Yeah.
Where do you see him going, Mitch? Around 15 then, or something like that.
Overall in the draft, he could be the first. He could be the first running back taken.
Yeah, he could be. Yeah.
Depending on where it goes, but I think he's a good fit for the Texans. But they don't have a pick. But maybe did they get the Cardinals? No, they didn't get the Cardinals pick.
No, their first pick is 40th.
Yeah, so maybe they trade up to get him there. But he's a good fit for them. He doesn't fumble a lot because I think that while the Texans would also like Taylor, you're not going to be able to. He's never going to see the field if he fumbles like that. It's not going to happen. Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU is next in the rankings here. It's a little small for my taste. We saw him just rip off big run after big run for LSU, but you have to remember he played behind an NFL offensive line with the Heisman Trophy winner as quarterback, and pretty much the Olympic track team as wide receivers didn't quite have the pressure that some of the other people had on them. But he made the most of it. I don't know. Two words that I come up with here: Kevin Falk. Steve.
He's a shifty running back. I mean, he obviously small, compact, and powerful, but he is shifty. I mean, he has that ability to, make, that first, tackle somebody's trying to make. He's got quick feet to move side to side. And you know what? He carries the pile, too. It takes...
I don't know, but all these things, you have to remember with the speed aspect is that a lot of that goes away at the next level where everybody can fly,
I understand
everybody
that, but he's going to be more of a, third down and three type of back that you're going to give him the ball.
For speed to really matter. For speed to
pull his life for first down.
For speed to be all you have, you got to be Tyreek Hill. You got to be Barry Sanders.
It's not that, obviously.
I mean, Chris?
I see him as a serviceable NFL back.
I see him that too, but we're talking about 63rd overall puts him in the second round, late second.
I can see a late second round pick for him, early third.
I see a ton of other guys I'd rather have, especially with the injury. Chris?
I mean, we saw Edwards-Helaire. What happens when he has the backfield to himself? He didn't have to split time with Nick Brissett like he did in 2018. Then 2019, he puts up over 1,400 yards. I think Edwards-Helaire is probably the best representation of Mitch. Like you said, the running back becoming the slot receiver. Edwards-Helaire is only 5'7", had 55 catches for 453 yards last season. So I think he can definitely be that swing pass, that release valve out of the backfield, or I don't know if I'd be so confident handing the ball to him on 3rd and 3. Yes, he's capable of ripping off big runs, but I think the passing game is probably where he's going to excel.
Rod?
Yeah, that's what I think too. He'll be like a third down back, nice little screen pass outside or something. I think you hand him the ball up the middle, he's going to get stuffed. He's not very big, only like 5'7". I don't see him going in the first round at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not rated as first-round talent, but it's like we're talking about like where's his value?
I don't want him. I don't want him on my team
at all. All right.
No, there's better out there.
Well, I mean, trust me on this one. If you're the Detroit Lions and you see like the running backs that they've wheeled off the sideline the last 20 years, but believe me, they'd give their left nut for this guy. It's like who? It's like, and the thing is, like, I really consider myself like, they're like the casual college fan. They're the guys that call themselves college fans. They're not all that college fans. And then there's like the guys that are, and then there's the guys that are dialed in. Like, and I consider myself in the dialed in. And the Detroit Lions have the ability to wheel out a running back that I've never heard of. It's like, here's a guy you've never heard of. It's like, you want to talk about Belarus soccer. they like get their running backs off the Belarus soccer roster, man. In Detroit, it's like we got a guy in Belarus who I think we could play if right. It's like where do they come up with these guys? But anyways, at number 5, and then after this we'll start to group them together. We like we did with the quarterbacks. Zach Moss from Utah. This is the guy that's going to make fantasy owners want to hit themselves over the head with a brick because they let this guy get away from them. This is the guy, right? This is the guy that's going to do the damage in the NFL. This is the guy that has the chance to make the most impact, the fastest. This is the guy that has the chance to be your week in, week out point guy. Well, I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a big game here and there, and I think Swift, like I said, has the ability to have those type of games. Zach Moss is the type of guy that 20 carries a game, like touchdowns, there's no third down guy. It's like, this is the guy, and it's like, you want an every down, right? When I used to play fantasy, 25 years ago, right? The death words, running back by committee, right? It's like, you don't have to worry about the committee with this guy. He is the committee. And I got to say that, the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year is this guy in a conference with Justin Herbert, right? And a bunch of other guys who were in that, the USC wide receivers. Yeah, I mean, pretty stacked offensive conference. This guy was the Offensive Player of the Year. I love Zach Moss. He's one of my top backs on the board. I could see him like being like if Ozzie was still drafted in the Ravens, even though they're already loaded at running back. I could see them drafting this guy anyway. With the Patriots, right? This is like the Patriots guy. It's like Seattle. A team like Seattle who went through a bunch of running backs this year. And Rashad Penny, if he gets back, he's similar, right? It's like this is kind of that guy. Steve.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's 5'9", 223 pounds. When you say he's a workhorse, a power running back, he is. I think he's got great value. I don't see him being drafted before Taylor again and Dobbins. But yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be a real good NFL back, and whoever snags him is. And again, he sounds like a Patriot pick type of thing, where you get maximum value in this late second, early third round here.
Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year, Pac-12 All-Conference First Team, Pro Football Focus, All-America First Team, CBS Sports Football Writers Association, All-America Second Team, AP All-America Third Team, semifinalists for the Maxwell, the Doak Walker, AP Co-Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year, 6 school records, career carries, rushing yards a game, rushing touchdowns, all-purpose yards. I don't know.
Pretty good.
This guy, and we're not talking. Utah. It's not ever considered like that top of the top program, but every year they seem to be there. Chris.
I'm just going to echo a lot of the stuff you guys said. I mean, he's probably going to be one of the more underrated and surprising running backs, at least in the first couple seasons. Yeah, there are medical concerns about him from injuries in the past, but it's going to be like that with anybody. I mean, 3 straight double-digit touchdown seasons. He broke 1,000 yards in each of those seasons. He's a workhorse. He's got a good build. He's quick for a guy that's 223 pounds. He can cut on a dime, and I definitely am excited to see what I'm going to see from Zach Moss in the future.
Rod, will Zach Moss for you or no?
I'll take him over Clyde. For sure, I'll take him over Clyde.
Well, it sounds like you'll take the Detroit Lions backfield of the last 25 years over. Kevin Smith out of University of Central Florida. It's like name a bust running back in the last 25 years. Who was the guy from
Theo Riddick?
Theo Riddick. Who's the George something, right? And then they had like the guy from Nebraska. He lasted like a year or something. Oh, and then they had
Amir Abdullah.
Yeah, they had Amir Abdullah. Didn't they also have the guy from Cal that vomited when he got hit in the Maryland game? what was his name? The Wiz or something. It was called. It was great. I mean, it was great for like 5 minutes. Really good. Running back from Cal. Oh, God. He got hit in the Maryland game and like he just vomited right on the field. Jaquez, Quez.
Nah, is that from Oregon State?
No, he's definitely from Cal. Jaquez Rogers.
I think he's from Oregon State.
No, definitely from Cal. He got hit in the. Oh no, that's a different. You're right. It's a different guy. It's Cal running. I'll Google it. Cal running back vomited against Maryland.
Vomit and Google.
Vomit against Maryland. It is Javid Best.
Javid Best.
Yeah, the vomit. The vomit game against Maryland.
You have to be a little more specific.
Very, very famous.
You could do a whole show on
There it is right here. All right.
athletes.
Well, hold on a second. I don't know.
Sidebar story.
Hopefully we don't get
Guys
a
get
mark.
hit so hard.
Oh, did you guys see the hit? You guys see the whole thing here. Oh, God.
Oh.
He got hit so hard he puked. There it is.
Right?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Wow.
When I googled it to find it, you know, they have like top 20 in this.
Mhm.
They have like a top 20 players puking on field.
But here it
Did
is.
he
Here it
just
is.
make my player vomit? What's going on?
No, where's the flag?
It was like he.
Where's the flag? You made him throw up.
No, it's real bad though. It's like that looks like the Ray Lewis hit on Tamrick Vanover. Here it is. It looked like Gatorade, right? It's like, what exactly was that? It's like, you rarely see a player get drilled so hard he vomits. You know, but that was definitely one of them. Good morning to everyone. Anyways. Yeah, so, anyways, we go to the second set of running backs, number 6 through 10. Cam Akers, who I think he was kind of like overrated, and then he became underrated because of how bad Florida State was. But he is a guy that, you know, one of these guys that came out of high school with a lot of hype, kind of never really reached that potential, and it's because Florida State was so bad. And then A.J. Dillon, Boston College running backs, have not translated well to the NFL level. You could ask the Giant fans about that one. Keyshawn Vaughn from Vandy came from off the board to ranked 117th in the class. LaMichael Pirine, brother of Samarjay Pirine from Florida. This guy's a home run hitter for sure. And Darius Anderson from TCU. Those are 5'10", 212 running backs. LaMichael Pirine also in that frame. A.J. Dillon, 6 foot, 247. If you're looking for a bruiser. Then could land on the Giants again, you know, for all we know. But anyways, Steve, any of these guys kind of do it for you? I have to say that I like some guys in the next group better than almost all the guys in this group.
No, again, you know, Boston College, to your point, I think you're thinking of Andre Williams that the Giants had taken years ago, and typically don't pan out. But I tell you, A.J. Dillon, man, he looks like the closest thing to Derrick Henry.
But when they put in their second string running back, he did the same thing.
Yeah, but, you know, I'll take a flyer on A.J. Dillon in this group here. In the 6 through 10, I'm a fan of him. And Perrine too, out of Florida, I think is a solid back. His brother has been very serviceable coming out of Oklahoma. So Those are my top two. Cam Akers, to your point, Florida. I think he's better than because of the Florida State situation, Coach Taggart, and it was just a disaster in Florida State for 2 years. But I think Cam Akers is definitely worth a 4th round, 5th round pick. Take a flyer on this kid. But A.J. Dillon, even buyer beware, Boston College history. I'm a fan of him. He's a power back here.
I think that, a guy like Darius Anderson just is lightly used, so it's like he's a wild card in this. Chris, what are you thinking about this group? Anyone here that kind of does it for you?
I'm willing to give a little bit of a look at Cam Akers. I mean, I know he didn't have the most impressive numbers. He was on Florida State, like you said, but he did have 2 1,000-yard rushing seasons. Last year, I mean, that Florida State offensive line was terrible. I mean, he still put up 1,000 yards, and they gave up. I know it's quarterback.
I mean, if we're going to go by terrible, but if we're going to go by terrible and make excuses for guys, then the winner here is Keyshawn Vaughn, right, from Vandy. I mean, he played in the SEC. He was on the worst team in the SEC. He still ran for 1,000 yards. He was the preseason All-American across the board for the SEC. So I don't know. Cam Akers, I don't know.
I just think he's worth a look.
I mean,
he gets a little bit more help at the next level with the offensive line. I think
he also sat out the bowl game. I don't like to sit out the bowl game, guys.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan either.
Might get injured. It's like, how many players have played in bowl games, and how many have career-ending injuries in the bowl game? I think 2 or 3, right? That not even career-ending, but just big injuries in the bowl games. Okay, Willis McGahee in the Fiesta National Championship against Ohio State. He still was a first-round pick. Jalen Smith from Notre Dame. And the worst one is the guy from Michigan, Butts. I don't know if that was in the bowl or not in the bowl, but that was a bad one too, where it was late in his career. And also for Miami, Melvin Bratton was another guy. Still first-round pick once again, but never really had the NFL career because he was injured in his bowl game. But once again, that was a national championship game, So I don't know. Rod, you sitting out the bowl game or what?
Yeah, no, I don't want that guy.
Yeah, me neither.
Play the damn game. Come on.
I like Chase Winovich when he said, "What do you think about all your teammates sitting out? How come you're not sitting out? You'd have to kill me first."
Yep.
Like, that's the guy you want.
I'm with Steve. Right. I like A.J. Dillon in this group. Big power back. I think he's got good potential here.
Well, let's move to our next bunch of backs. And like I said, I have backs in this group, of course, that I like the best, and everyone knows who mine is. And that's DJ Dallas out of Miami. I've seen great Miami backs. I've seen them all. And I got to say, this guy takes a backseat to none of them. When Miami gets Georgia running backs, it's a big deal. I don't think people realize this, but it's a huge deal for Miami to get a Georgia running back. So getting this guy was a big, big deal. And he never disappointed. He did get injured, but he was also one of those guys that, I mean, once in a while, Miami has a back that just can take it to the house on any given play. And this was that guy. This was the Lamar Miller. This was the Edgerrin James. This was the, Yes? What's up?
Yeah. I figured I got to fly.
All right.
Yeah, I got to get the wife in 1 minute.
Well, we'll see ya.
I'm sorry I have to check out.
No problem.
Check out.
See you, buddy.
See ya. Thanks, Rod, for joining us.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up
Thanks,
anyway.
Nate.
We're getting
everybody.
late in the show.
See you, Rob.
But in this last group,
See ya.
we got, in the next group at least, and then we'll do the end everybody else. But in this group, it's Eno Benjamin, James Robinson from Illinois State. Whenever you see a guy from a small school in these, generally, it's worth taking a look. Javon Leake from Maryland. Once again, Maryland, they're on the wrong side of some real beatdowns this year. That Penn State game, I don't think they'll ever recover from that. And then DJ Dallas and Michael Warren from Cincinnati, who was another one of these guys that it was kind of like Moss. This is a guy that I think really has a chance of making an impact. Steve, any of these guys do it for you? I think, like I said, I think DJ Dallas is an automatic superstar in the NFL.
I mean, who are we to question your knowledge of your Miami Hurricanes? So if you're touting this guy, listen, I'm all in then. I respect your opinion. Miami football inside and out. And if you have a feeling that this is, really, I'm not kidding on this. If you have, that feeling that this guy is going to be pretty damn good, then, I'll agree with you. Michael Warren from Cincinnati, man, they had a really good year. This guy, he had a good year. So, look for him. They'll probably value at him in the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds for him. Another guy you haven't mentioned is Joshua Kelly out of UCLA. I think is a good back that is under consideration in that 15 to 20 slots out there. But yeah, I'll go with DJ Dallas of Miami as probably the most potential here of this group.
He's a home run hitter. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that list as well, and like you said, a guy like James Robinson sticks out for me as well. 1,900 rushing yards almost last season. Out of a smaller, out of an FCS school, that could usually translate to something, and I think he's worth a flyer definitely, at least in the later rounds. So
we'll go into just that final group of running backs. We're running a little long, but we have Patrick Taylor as one from Memphis, who I kind of like. Memphis running backs have traditionally been very, very good. We didn't see the impact from Henderson in Los Angeles this last season that I expected to see from him. He looks a little smaller at the NFL level than he did at the college level, but I have to say is that they got rid of Todd Gurley, so he's still on the rosters. I'm going to guess he's going to see some increased playing time this year. Guy who, once again, I like those guys that, if they get the crease, they can take it all the way to the house, and we saw that from Henderson a ton at Memphis. I mean, how many touchdowns did Memphis score? Tony Jones from Notre Dame. These Notre Dame backs, they always seem to find a way into the NFL. I think that usually the thing that you could say about the Notre Dame guys is that, for all their other shortcomings, generally, at least their head is in the game, which is half the battle these days. You give a 20-year-old kid, $40 million and see how they hold it together. Brian Herrien from Georgia. Lightly used Georgia running backs are a really nice thing to have at the NFL level. We've seen it a million times, and it's like I wouldn't be surprised to see it again with this guy. 5'11", 210. He's the bigger back there, too, as well, from Georgia. In case you guys didn't know, Holyfield is still in the league, Elijah Holyfield, and eventually he's going to hit with someone. He's one of those guys that's kind of like hanging around, and eventually he's going to hit with someone. Rodney Smith from Minnesota, rowing the boat. We all got flecked a few times. Kennedy McCoy from West Virginia. Jonathan Ward, Central Michigan. Marvin Kinsey Jr. from Colorado State, 6', 206. Probably could continue. Christian Gibson from New Mexico State. We saw this guy. They had some pretty high-scoring games there. Antonio Williams from NC State, getting just on the board, probably free agent, though, at this point. Steve, anything there in that last group of running backs? Tyson Williams from BYU, another one, 5'11", 220.
Yeah, I mean, they're all, good potential. I would say the two that stand out for me, Tony Jones of Notre Dame. He's been the featured back there. He's gotten a lot of carries, played good competition. Smart kid, I'm sure. So Tony Jones, and I think Patrick Taylor, too, of Memphis. I think, like you talked about, Memphis does produce quality NFL running backs. So I think there's value for taking a flyer on Patrick Taylor of that group. So those are my two.
Patrick Taylor in 39 games, 2,534 yards and 31 touchdowns. 10 games over 100 yards, 8 multi-TD games, rushing only. 2,920 all-purpose yards with 34 touchdowns. And 7 multi-touchdown rushing and receiving combined. And he's also academic All-American as well, which I always like. Chris,
We like that.
in these days it's more important than ever because you have
You're
coaches that'll put you in the right position if you have the skill set. As we saw, Kyle Van Noy sign the big contract with Miami. Here's the guy that, come on. I mean, Blake Martinez still has a job.
Sure. No, I'm with you guys. I like Patrick Taylor as well. There were some injuries that hampered his season last year, but he came back. He still showed that he can break tackles after he gets hit. He's got a lot of power, really quick. Yeah, so I like Patrick Taylor as well.
I hope I go to a team that I get to play Blake Martinez twice a year. You can only hope,
The other one, I also like Rico Dowdle out of South Carolina. I just think he's a solid back.
Yeah, played tough competition too.
Played very tough competition in the SEC and did hold his own. He didn't have the 1,000-yard seasons, but he still put up a good chunk of yardage, and he showed that he can catch out the backfield as well. So I like Rico Dowdle. I think he's got some promise.
All right, well, I think we got a good overview of the running backs. Maybe tomorrow we'll switch to the defensive side of the ball and look at some of the better defenders out there. Usually not the most exciting thing, but maybe we'll look at the secondary or something, unless we can think of something in the meantime, or there's some earth-shattering news. Anyways, thanks for joining us today, guys, and remember, social distancing. Let's get through this stuff already, man. You're in one of those few states that don't have the lockdown. Lock it down. Have a great day, everyone.
So thanks, Mitch. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys.